Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another exciting design tutorial with UxMate. In today's tutorial, we would be going to take a deep dive into shapes and their meanings and how they influence the users. When we are designing experience, definitely it is not always like you would be solving the user's problem. That is what we are doing with the designing user experience. We are trying to empathize with the user, we are trying to connect with them, we are trying to connect with them mentally with our designs. And how we can do it? By using shapes, colors, and the proper positioning of those elements on the screen. Or even with the physical products, the shapes also do attract users, do attract customers. If you notice, uh, let's say like the cold drink bottles, or let's say beauty products, food packaging, if you see, you would be finding different shapes in the market, different colors, different sizes. Why there are different shapes? Because shapes have a meaning behind it. And when you try to understand the psychology of shapes, definitely it will give you a upper hand in designing the experience which you want to design. It will also help you to uh, probably design better illustrations, better logos, or end of the day you would be able to create a better composition using your shapes. By working the by working with the subconscious meaning behind each shape, definitely you will be able to communicate with the users in a more better way. So let's see how different shapes are associated with the different basic meanings or attributes of the shapes, you can say. Whenever we use squares, most of the time you would be noticing like squares and circles are most commonly used shapes in the logos of very famous brands. So whenever we use squares, squares basically gives the feeling of strength, efficiency, uh, practicality. It also talks about the professionalism. When we use circles, on other hand, circles are more feminine shapes. Circles are to represent stability, community. You can say it is also used to represent unity, friendship. When triangular shapes are completely opposite to circles. Triangles are to represent villain kind of personality. If you go in the character designing, you would be seeing like circular characters are more cute, and while triangular characters are more edgy, and those are more towards villain personality. That doesn't mean like we shouldn't use triangles, but those have a there are plenty of logos who have used triangles, and that also represents the power, law. It also connects the user with the science and masculine behavior. If you would notice, vertical and horizontal lines, or curved lines, those also have a specific meaning to them. So when we say vertical lines, they talk about strength, they talk about progress, they talk about aggregation. On other hand, if we use horizontal lines, they are more about tranquility or calmness. They also represent about the speed. Like this, you can choose the better shapes for designing your logos, for designing your illustrations, for designing your icons. And probably you can try to put some gist of shapes as well in your designs. If you had noticed, some of the designs, they use a little bit circular shapes around the images, or a little bit triangular or horizontal vertical lines in the designs. The reason is like they want to connect the users with whatever thought process they have. Like they want to influence the people with those shapes. They want to attack on the emotions, attack in a positive way, definitely. Also, the meaning of these shapes can be drastically influenced when we use with the colors. Colors are also they are used to talk about different emotions, talk about different expressions, So combining colors and shapes, we can create whatever results we want. Like we can create any results which we want to emotionally connect with the users. So now we have understood about shapes and their meanings. Let's try to jump into the Figma and try to leverage the power of shape tools in Figma, and how we can utilize the different shapes in the standard shapes which Figma provides, and how we can use them to create n number of designs with those basic shapes. Let me jump onto the my tutorial file. Yes, before going there, if you would see, uh, I have mentioned like things to remember is R, which is short key for drawing a rectangle or a shape tool like the rectangle shape tool. Let's just go to the file here. Oops, sorry. So what I have created is definitely those logos or those icons are not designed by me. Those are something which I found on the web, and I just grab a screenshot of them just to explain how different shapes are working together to balance out the meaning out of those shapes. And we would be also taking some examples, like we would be breaking down those icons, and we can easily understand how those icons are created using the basic shapes provided in the Figma itself. So let me just zoom in a little bit, and if you would be seeing the first icon, it more or less kind of represents the bank, school, or a sort of building. Also, if you see like the lines within it, it also represents about, like, it is my personal perception though, so it also represents about you know stacking things together in an organized way, or library kind of feeling where we have a building and then the books are stacked in it, right? So if you try to design this icon, if with the pen tool, that would be a bit difficult to trace around it. So what we can do is we can simply try to break it down. We would be using a triangle like as a first shape. So if we see, we have this triangle here, and then if you notice, we have a rectangle. So we have a rectangle, and again, like if we see the shapes of the books, those are nothing but the rectangles. So I have near about 4 rectangles in the shape, and 1 triangle and a circle as well. But yeah, on day one, I would not recommend you to go in those minor details of the combination of the shapes. But if you see on high level, this icon is something like this, and when you try to create it, like when you try to go deep dive into the minor details of it, you would be probably curving the edges of each elements, and you would be near about the same result which we have on the other logo, like this. So you just have to adjust the padding and the spacing between objects, and you'd be able to achieve the same look with easily using the shapes. Now let's see any other shapes, like any icon here. If you see like this flight icon or the plane icon, when you try to break it down, I would be breaking it down with a rectangle first. Oops, sorry. So if you see, I'd be having a rectangle here, and those are also little rectangles. I'll just choose the same rectangle and plot it here, and again on the other side. So those wings are nothing but the different rectangles, and then probably you can add a circle in the beginning to create that curvy feeling. So easily you can create those icons. Let me also give you an example, like if you remember those old school telephones, you can simply create those icons as well with using simple shapes together. So if you, I'm not sure if this is visible, let me change the color to something like this. Now if you see, what I have did is I have drawn 2 circles or 2 ellipses on the screen. I have drawn one more. I'm just stretching it out. Okay, and what I'll be doing, I'll be just creating a duplicate of it. Let me just change the color a little bit so you'll understand. Okay, so we have these two shapes, and when I try to combine everything together, you would be noticing it as a telephone. Let me just do minor changes, not changes, but let me just subtract these shapes together. So what I'm doing, I'm selecting both shapes and just subtracting them from the selection, and now when I try to merge all of these together, I'd be having a telephone icon. Isn't it quick and easy to do? So you can create any icon or like any shape using just those basic tools which Figma has provided us. So what we would be doing as an exercise after this lesson, so I'd not stretch this much because you'd be able to also relate, like when looking at the shapes, you would be also able to relate with the shapes, what those shapes are, what those talking about. Let's say if we take this as an example, then we'd be having one ellipse on high level, and what I would be doing, I'd be using a triangle, though there is no triangle, but what we can do is we can simply take a triangle like this, and rotate it a little bit to get the desired angle, create a copy of it, rotate it on the opposite direction, adjust the size, and with this, when you try to merge all of these together, let me just pull them here and have the color. So if you try to merge all of them together, you would be seeing something similar to this icon. When you go into more details, when you try to adjust the radius, the corners, you'll be able to achieve the same result. See, like this. You just have to select both of them together, rotate them to have the flat plane on the bottom, and that's it. So what you can do, you can keep on exploring the shapes and try to combine the shapes together, and then create different variations of those shapes. So what we would be doing as an exercise after this, we would be taking all of the shapes here. Let's say a rectangle, one shape at a time. I am putting a rectangle here. I would be having two different colors just for demonstration perspective, and I would be creating one more copy of the rectangle, and let's say probably green. And what I'd be doing, I'd be putting them together. I'd be putting them together, or I would be overlapping them. I'd be trying different placements with them. Let's say I want to create a table or a chair kind of thing. What I'd be doing, I'd be just creating those shapes using the standard rectangles. So you need to imagine different objects around you, and you need to try to create those shapes just using the rectangles. So you can do like whatever you want. You can rotate them, you can scale them, you can change the height, width of the rectangles, but you don't have to do anything in the details like the shapings of those rectangles. For example, adjusting the corners and all those things you would be not doing on day one. So we'd be just creating different putting different rectangles together, and we'll try to create various shapes out of those. Let's say I'd be creating an alphabet A. Don't worry about those minor details, those edgy stuff, because that would be with the time. We would be definitely solving those problems in our upcoming tutorials. But as of now, our goal is create different shapes, whatever you can imagine, just using rectangles. So let me try to create a cell phone, for example. I'll just have a black color for now. You also don't need to worry about the different colors. Just focus on the the shapes of the object rather than the colors and all. So just focus on the shapes and just try to create different shapes using this, like different objects around you. Or you can be more fancy with this. I have a screen and then a couple of buttons there, right? Also you can think of, let's say, what we can say, you can create a study lamp. How you can create, let's say you have a rectangle here, okay, then I have one more rectangle which is kind of tail of my lamp, right, and then I have one more rectangle which is support to this, and then I have a base. So what I'm doing, I'm just taking simple rectangular shape and just adjusting the rotation, height, width of those and trying to create different shapes out of it, right? So nothing fancy, would be just creating various shapes using this, and then with the help of this technique you would be able to explore the designs, explore the basics of the design, and you would be ignoring the high fidelity stuff on day one, and you would be just focusing on the core shapes of the objects which you are creating. Anything, like think of anything, you can create almost everything using the rectangles. Don't worry about the curves as of now, just think on the high level shapes of the rectangle. So let's say I'm creating a screwdriver, for example, like this. So just explore the different objects around you. Let's say you are creating a television set, right? It is much easier, right? So you have nothing but a rectangle, and then an inner rectangle for your screen, probably a button or speaker or some sort of things around it. So let's say your television unit has a speaker, has two speakers on both sides, right? Probably you would be creating a laptop or a monitor or a desktop screen. So just take the rectangles, adjust the height and width of those, and you'd be able to create any any object around you. Just look here and there, try to find different objects. Let's try to create a bottle using rectangles. That would be pretty easy, yes. And don't go into much details on day one, just try to create a kind of silhouette of your object, shadow of your object, so it will help you to generate the ideas. Definitely I'll tell you about how to generate different ideas as well in our upcoming tutorials, but as of now just focus on the outline of the objects. So something like this, just focus on the outlines. Let's try to create a hammer. Hammer would be pretty straightforward, right? You'd be having one rectangle, you'd be having another rectangle on this side and a smaller one on the opposite side, or maybe something like this. It could be also a hair dryer, just you have to tilt the this below rectangle, like the this rectangle. So you can create n number of shapes, you can shapes just using rectangles, and that would be with the time helping you to create your designs quickly, faster, and you would be also able to relate with the you would be also able to break down the shapes, you would be also able to break down the designs, and you would be able to think why this particular logo is designed in such way, what could be the perception behind this, why the designer has chosen this particular shape for this particular icon, for this particular logo, for this particular design. So when you try to explore the why, you would be able to relate things more easily around you, and you would be able to explore the necessity, explore the needs, and then you would be able to create a better experience for your users. So you have to understand why I'm doing this, whatever you are doing, why I'm choosing a rectangular shape for designing a monitor. Cannot I do it with a circle? I can do it, but if I do it with a circle, my user will not able to relate this circular shape with a monitor, right? So what you can do, you can still, like, let me give you like, as we are talking about a little bit curves or circular objects, what you can do, you can simply, let's say, draw a circle, or a rounded edge. I'm not doing any curves as of now, I'm just using basic shapes, right? So just select these two and you'd be having a curvy monitor. You can have a curved monitor, right? I'm personally using a curved monitor, but users will not able to relate to these kind of shapes if you try to do a drastic change in their appearance, what they are generally in your uh, outer world. So when I would be able to relate this as a monitor, what I have to do, it is kind of, if I'm seeing it from the perspective, it is kind of a turned around, a flipped monitor. So it is like I'm seeing a back side of the monitor. Let me just simply subtract this this rectangle from the shape. Now you'd be seeing a curved monitor which is facing towards us. Simply those curves are adding more details to your objects which you are creating. But we don't want to go into details on day one. I'm again iterating the same thing. We would be focusing on the basic building blocks of the design, and we would be trying to break down all those fancy icons whichever you find over the internet. You can simply search on the Google icons, or you can simply search about the logos, and then let me quickly grab some logos as well for reference. Let me just search it on the Google and get some logos. So I'm just pasting the screenshot here. So if you see the logos here, those are primarily designed using rectangles. If you search on the Google like triangular logos, or rectangular logos, or circular logos, you'd be able to find a lot of logos. When we say circular logo, we have Audi, we have what's its name, the Olympics logo is also multiple circles are combined together. It gives a meaning. Okay, the multiple circles are connected together with a community, with love and support to each other, right? Also, circular shape has a infinite meaning, like, because it is a never ending shape. It is like around and round and round. You are not, like, the circle is not ending. So if you see, let me just bring up the Olympic logo for your reference. Let me just search Olympic logo here, and if I put it here, you would be noticing there are not, like, this logo has nothing but the different circles which are combined with each other, which are embedded with each other, and when you see, those circles are creating an infinite loop. So there is no end to this, right? And the same way, we would like to have the emotions, let's say love, support. We never want a support should be ended. We never want love should be ended with someone. So that is how we are relating the shapes, and how we are connecting those shapes with the emotions around us, and with the help of those emotions we would be able to influence our users and create better designs which will have better meaning, right? So don't worry about the details on day one, just focus on the core shapes, core building blocks of the design, and then with the time you would be able to break down any design in its simplest form. In any art form, you would be noticing when you are doing a drawing, when you are doing sketching, when you are doing figure drawing specifically, your instructor, your teacher will keep on telling you, don't focus on the details yet, just try to capture the curve, just try to capture the line of action of the object, of the pose, and just try to bring life in your pose. Don't try to go in much details, like how the facial features are, what are the different cloths your model has. Don't worry about these things, just try to capture the gesture of the pose, just try to capture, the line of action of the pose. In the same way, like the same principle is applicable to the design as well. Don't try to go in the details on day one, just try to capture the basics, the core fundamentals of the design. And with the time, when you are strong in the fundamentals, when your foundation is strong, you would able to construct beautiful designs, beautiful buildings, if your foundation is strong. So that's why I would recommend you to make your foundation strong, and then with the time we would be definitely doing the exponential growth in the design. In our upcoming tutorials, probably we would be seeing about the composition, having different objects, how to frame them together, and how to compose something on the screen, and how we can lead the users, how we can lead the eyes, or how we can direct the eyes, basically using the compositions. And with this, you'd be able to place the objects on proper position. But before that, again I'm iterating, don't focus on the details, just try to capture the basic shapes of each and every design, each and every icon. Try to explore different designs on the internet, try to explore different icons, different logos, and just as an you can say as an assignment, just try to try to either or like do it in Figma or do it on the paper pencil, like just try to sketch out the outlines of those, just try to put on the blocky shapes behind them. So whatever blocks, let's say, like again I'd be giving you an example, let's say of this car. If you see this car, it has nothing but different a couple of shapes which you can combine together. Let me just take a rectangle, a bigger rectangle which I'm seeing. Okay, then I'm seeing one more rectangle here in the center, right? Now to add a little bit more details into it, you can have a little bit triangles. Oops, sorry. So just to add a little bit more details on the curves of the or on the edges of the car, you can have those triangles, right? Two triangles at both sides. So with this, you will be able to capture the basic shape of the car, and you will be able to create the basic design of the car. Let's just add two wheels at the bottom, and your car is ready. Let me just change the color for your reference. I would also recommend you to go ahead and explore those advanced shapings, where you can shaping tools where you can union or subtract, intersect, and exclude selection. Definitely I'd be covering a session on these 4 different objects or these 4 different tools, because those are very powerful tools in creating advanced illustrations or advanced icons, advanced designs, you can say. With the help of this, you can create, like it opens up the endless possibility to designers. Stay tuned, let's connect in our upcoming tutorial. Till then, like, share, subscribe, and goodbye.